Welcome to this training session brought to you by the Society of American Archivists, Archivists of Religious Collections section. My name is Jonathan Lawler. We acknowledge that we live and work on the traditional lands of many indigenous nations. We know that indigenous peoples have suffered from historical and ongoing injustices and understand as an archival organization that we must work towards sharing historical truths and renew respectful relationships with indigenous communities. We respect the longstanding relationships that indigenous nations have to this land as the original caretakers. We are grateful for their stewardship and protection of the water and earth. We pay our respects to elders past and present. Today's topic is Social Networks and Archival Context, SNAC. Before I introduce our presenters, let's review the disclaimer. The content in these presentations is for information only and is not legal advice. Our views do not represent the organizations where we work. We do not make any endorsements or guarantees. We are not liable for any loss or damage caused by your use of the content we provide. It is your responsibility to critically evaluate the content provided in the presentation or any accompanying materials. Also, please remember the points shown on this slide. You will not be able to use your microphone or video during this session. You can click on the closed captioning button at the bottom of your screen, and under live transcript, click Enable Audio Transcription to get closed captioning. There will be a question period after the presentation concludes. You should use the Q&A feature to ask your questions. We will not answer questions in the chat or unmute attendees due to time constraints. Please be respectful in your interactions. We expect you to follow the SAA Code of Conduct. This session will be recorded, and we ask that you please fill out the short survey after the session ends. We encourage you to join the Society of American Archivists if you are not a member, and we thank the Congregation of the Sisters of St. Joseph in Canada for hosting this webinar. And now I would like to introduce our presenters, Jeremy Simmons and Dina Herbert. Jeremy Simmons is the lead National Archives and Records Administration Agency Liaison to the SNAC Cooperative and serves as the lead of the SNACSchool and as the SNAC Operations Coordinator. Since 2000, Jerry led several authorities cataloging projects for the National Archives, including the startup of NARA's NACO and SACO contribution projects. He was an archivist and cataloger for the US Holocaust Memorial Museum from 1990 to 1999. His first archives job, 1986 to 1990, was in the Diocesan Archives of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Savannah, Georgia, working as an assistant to the late Sister Mary Felicitas Powers, RSM. Jerry taught as adjunct faculty at the Catholic University of America's Department of Library Science from 2011 to 2015, and now teaches as an adjunct professor in the Simmons University, Boston School of Library and Information Science. He works from his home office on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, where he lives with his wife and son. Dina Herbert is the National Archives Liaison to Social Networks and Archival Contexts, where she is responsible for working with partner organizations, editing SNAC, training, and more. Previously, she served as the Innovation Hub Coordinator at NARA as the librarian of the Iraqi Jewish Archive Preservation Project at NARA. She received degrees from Columbia University, BA, the Jewish Theological Seminary, BA and MA, and the University of Maryland, MLS. She lives in Alexandria, Virginia with her spouse and young children. Jerry and Dina, thank you for presenting at today's Lunch and Learn.
It's our pleasure. Are we ready to start the presentation?
We are.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And please let me know if everything is visible as it should be. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for that introduction. Again, I'm Jerry Simmons with the National Archives and Records Administration, and I am the National Archives External Agency Liaison to the SNAC Cooperative. SNAC is social networks and archival context, and it's a description cooperative made up of partner institutions, now global, for the description and discovery of archival materials worldwide through the creators and the subjects of those archival materials. So, as a cooperative, SNAC involves quite a bit of partnership activity at an ongoing basis at all times. SNAC's administration and governance can be described as a fully collaborative effort made up of a SNAC director, a SNAC technical developer, the SNAC liaisons to the National Archives. Again, that's me and that's Dina. And we serve a number of roles and wear a number of hats in those roles. We have a special area of our website resource about membership and how to become a member, volunteer editors and their role in the cooperative. And we also have 4 working groups who support the governance and administration of the cooperative as time goes on. We have an editorial standards working group. We have a technical resources group. We have a communications working group, and we have a research and reference working group. And again, the SNACSchool program is its own sort of standalone function of the cooperative now. SNAC, as this slide indicates, is a free online resource that helps users discover biographical and historical information about entities or persons, families, and organizations that created or are documented in historical resources, so primary source documents. And it also helps discover connections between those entities. And we're going to talk a bit about that in the coming minutes. It is free. SNAC is always free, and you can access it now if you'd like and move along with us. On this screen, we see a sample of breakouts from the SNAC search engine that demonstrates the ease at which you can access and search in the SNAC system. A simple keyword search of Elizabeth Seton brings back in the search results a number of matching names. You see the person name for Elizabeth Ann Seton there. You see the Elizabeth Seton Inn, which we could consider a corporate entity, Sister Elizabeth Seton McDonald, another person, and then, excuse me, names of different corporate bodies like the the Elizabeth Seton Academy and the college and the hospital, all a part of the SNAC description effort as we, again, focus on the description and discovery of persons, families, and corporate bodies. That quick search takes you to Seton Elizabeth Ann. You see the structured person name there, and then one click there moves you to Seton's record. So it is a cooperatively maintained trove of creator and subject description. So this is a bit of a tour of a typical SNAC record. Here we have the SNAC record for Oscar A. Romero. Excuse me. When available and when it exists in the SNAC system, a biography is the primary or default display for a SNAC record. This can be information hand curated or hand created at the time that the SNAC record is written, or biographical and historical notes can be pulled from a number of sources or finding aids or other authority systems that took place during the 2014 and 2015 data ingests, which built the SNAC searching system. Moving from left to right, we see a tab for resources, and this here speaks to all resources, archival, library, museum, everything that's culturally heritage materials that are described somewhere. And under the resources tab, you find a way to get to the descriptions of those archival materials. Dina's going to have a bit more on that later on. The next tab over is relationships. This is a special list of relationship descriptions in context with other entities in the SNAC system as they relate to this particular entity. So when we look at records closer, we'll have a close look at the Elizabeth Seton record later on in a demonstration, and we'll demonstrate how those contextual connections reveal themselves and support discovery in the system. Moving further to the right, there is a tab for places, so geographical places that are related to the entity. Subjects, so the fields of study or activity of the person or the corporate body. Occupations, and then activities is a tab that's used to describe the functions or activities of, excuse me, of corporate entities. Here's an example of the broader reach of cultural heritage discovery in SNAC. So this slide, of course, demonstrates the SNAC record for Saint Kateri Tekakwitha, the Native American saint. You see that on the resources tab of her SNAC record, which is displayed on the left-hand side of the screen, that she is referenced in a collection with the title Collection of Relics and Reliquaries dated 1795 to 1999. The holding repository is designated as the University of Dayton. A click on the title of that archival collection takes you to a finding aid. And in this particular case, the finding aid is discovered through OhioLink, which is an aggregator of archival finding aids, to the guide to the collections of relics and reliquaries. Now, you note here that information from the finding aids is what populates the SNAC records in many respects. And these finding aids, especially those that were in EAD, or encoded archival description, were systematically and automatically ingested into the SNAC system about 8 years ago, and the information has been living there ever since. So then through the finding aid, you can discover more particulars about the collection, and then you glide down that left-hand column there until you click on reliquaries, and it moves you to part of the finding aid that's specific to Kateri Tekakwitha. SNAC also allows for geographical discovery of collections related to one's research. So again, we have that this on the left-hand side, the slide is the record for Kateri Tekakwitha, and here we have the, pardon me, the arrow then points from the University of Dayton indication under the holding repository. I'm sorry, my display line is in the way. Sorry. Oops, I'll move it up here. Again, it points from the University of Dayton being identified as the holding repository down to the title Collection of Relics and Reliquaries, but using the special View Collection Locations button at the top of the Resources tab reveals a map with pin drops of the different holding repositories designated in Tekakwitha's record. Oops, sorry about that. Pardon I'm trying to figure out, I'm not a frequent Zoom user, so I'm not sure about getting this to disappear. If anyone has any help, Jonathan, if you can help get rid of this presentation bar. So
I can see where you were pointing before.
Okay. Because on my screen, I just see the mute stop video, and it's obscuring what I'm trying to display. For me, at least. Hopefully, it's not obscuring the display of the presentation.
On this slide, I can see the full red arrow from John England.
Okay.
Up.
Okay. That helps. Then I'll just move it around on my side. Okay. Sorry about the interruption there. The contextual relationship discovery is something that SNAC really does have a great amount of pride for, because it's really at the heart of what happens between the traditional authority records that you see in SNAC that behind the scenes have been transformed into EAC CPF authority records. EAC CPF stands for Encoded Archival Context for Corporate Bodies, Persons, and Families. And one of the big features of EAC CPF is using relationships or relation types that you see listed on the left-hand column of John England's SNAC record. And you see associated with, which is rather general, but at the bottom you see alumnus or alumna of St. Patrick's College, Carlow, Ireland. Note that there's a blue highlight on all of these, all of the names in the relations. And simply clicking on that blue link moves you immediately to the St. Patrick's College SNAC record. And with the specific context that John England was an alumnus or alumna of this particular institution. That just broadens the amount of discovery that can happen when you start investigating different relationships highlighted in a SNAC record. Okay, Dina is going to take over from here.
Thanks, Jerry. So we wanted to show how you can really drill down and highlight a lot between the relationships within the archival collections. And this is one of the ways that SNAC really stands out from, SNAC itself stands out in that we can really see how there's connections. So in this example, you can see how the theologian and civil rights activist, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, and Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. are connected, and specifically through their archival connections that they, have created themselves. So the archival material, you can see how the two entities are connected within the records, and the archival material itself is linked to the finding aid. And in this case, we have the relationship is associated with. That's our catch-all. We could have also edited this as corresponded with, because of their correspondence within the finding aids, which we'll see. Selecting the little blue book icon with the double arrows will show you, like on this slide, the shared resources between the two of them. There's that little eye on the shared resources, and that will take you to the resource page within SNAC. So Jerry, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so this is that slide showing a specific connection where in the Abraham Joshua Heschel papers at, I'm pretty sure this is at Duke University, you can look and see other related entities. So who else or what other corporate bodies or persons or families are connected within this resource. And then by specifically looking at the finding aid, you can see a correspondence between Heschel and King. So the next slide, please. Thanks. So we also wanted to point out some important notes about SNAC governance, which Jerry had talked about a little bit before. In terms of SNAC governance and administration. So SNAC currently is in a period of transition after our founder and first director, Daniel Pitti, retired in December of 2022. Our new SNAC director is Susan Pazinski, who was formerly at Harvard Houghton Library, and she came on board in February. So we are continuing to really ramp up to where we had been. And there are lots of opportunities to get involved in SNAC. In summer, well, I'm not sure if it's quite, we don't have a target date. And in my notes, it says summer 2023, but we don't have a specific date. We are transitioning from we are transitioning to a different model of membership. Currently, membership is free. We are still offering that. There are discussions of what the next stage of SNAC and the membership will look like. So if there is an interest to get involved, we encourage everybody and institutions, large, small, with large budgets, with small budgets, to continue to become partners with SNAC. So SNAC is run by a small group of administrators and governed by an operations committee comprised of the SNAC administrators and the chairs of the 5 working groups, which are the editorial working group, technical working group, communications, reference and research, and then the SNACSchool. So next slide, please, Jerry. Okay. So one of the efforts that we have been doing throughout the cooperative is really trying to bring to the forefront the stories of the underdocumented by linking to archival records about that entity. The best examples of this efforts are projects focusing on the enslaved and the indigenous persons and related entities. So SNAC is currently working with experts in these fields, and these experts are also cooperative partners. For enslaved names, we've teamed with the historian and descendant of the enslaved, Bernita Reed of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, to accurately and sensitively describe the enslaved person. Reparative description plays a big part in this effort, as you can imagine. And I know I've gotten the opportunity to do a lot of that with one of our partners, the Fred Smith Library at George Washington's Mount Vernon, nearby where I live in Northern Virginia, of making sure that we are creating these what we have from the information of the enslaved, of George Washington and his wife Martha Washington and the Custis, or Martha Custis Washington and the Custis family, and creating family names and connecting the people to the descendants of the enslaved who are still active actually at Mount Vernon itself. And that's been a really interesting project to work on. Similarly, with the new Indigenous Working Group, we are sensitively considering the issues of nationality, of place names, of preference of Indigenous persons and organization names over the anglicized or white assigned names. So as with the Enslaved Description Project, SNAC is teaming with Dr. Diana Marsh at the University of Maryland iSchool and several tribal archivists, librarians, and historians to ensure description practice and policy are all accurate and culturally sensitive. And we've been able to host a few editathons we did one in 2020 and 2021, I think, and really work with a lot of contributors. And some of the other projects that we are working on is what we're calling SNAC Lite, where you can allows for basic description and data contribution from an institution. And so we're trying to lower the barriers of contribution. And there are currently archive space plugins in the works. I think those are being actively tested, and Open Refine plugins for bulk data, which have, I know in several partner institutions have been going really well. So I'll turn it back over to you, Jerry.
Thanks, Dina. I am going to, give me 1 second. I'm going to stop share because I'll be right back onto the share. I have to adjust my browser. Okay. I wanted to make sure I had my settings correct. What we're going to do now is, as promised, a simple walkthrough of a SNAC record, and we're going to do that on the Elizabeth Seton record. What I wanted to add here, though, is know that there is, when you land at the SNACcooperative.org website, you get this mosaic, as I call it the tumbling mosaic. If you refresh by clicking SNAC each time, you get a new rotation of those. The images are generated from active links or open links between designated SNAC records and Wikidata. If an entity in SNAC has a link to a Wikidata entry, that is what enables the images to populate and show forward. Not all SNAC records have these images because they may not have been linked yet, which right now is happening manually, and there might also not be a free Wiki Commons image available. So I always like to point that out. But by clicking SNAC over and over again, you can see it tumble a bit more. I think we've seen a couple of popes roll by already. Note also on the far right, there is a click for login. It's important to know that you can approach SNACcooperative.org and you can do as much searching and discovery as you wish without having a login and a password. An account in SNAC is not necessary to enjoy the benefits of searching in the system. So a few features we have on the basic search is the types. You can filter your search out to search only on the records for persons, or only for corporate bodies, or only for families. I tend to leave it as all types because it casts a bit of a broader net when I'm searching, though other researchers might have a different take on it. So we can change it to person and simply type. You don't have to do it in the order of the heading. A lot of folks think, oh, do I have to know what the controlled authority heading for a name would be? And no, you do not. And you see, once I type in Elizabeth, it starts to populate SNAC record preferred headings, especially that are available in SNAC that have Elizabeth in them. But we further narrow this down by going for, and there she is at the very top, Seton, Elizabeth Ann, the saint, and there her dates. Click there and search. She is then the only one that has met the criteria of our search because we pulled that full heading in. We click there. And here we see her record. I am going to see if I can enlarge this a bit. There we go, make it easier. So again, as I mentioned earlier, when a biography note is available for a person or a family, and if a corporate history is available for a corporate entity, the biography tab is the default display in the SNAC record. Going to the left, from left to right, we click the resources, and as I showed in the slide presentation earlier, at the top of the resources, you see the view collections, and you can zoom out to see the entire globe, or you can drill downwards to see where these collections are held on a pin drop map. Hovering over or clicking on it, there we have one for the University of Notre Dame at the Hesburgh Library. Here's the one we talked about earlier at the University of Dayton. And then there are others, and you just simply move through your discovery, and you can click and drag this map, look at the pin drops, Campbell University, Wiggins Memorial Library. I'm not familiar with that one. And then of course, Seton Hall University, no surprise there where are they, in New Jersey, I think. Yeah. So that's the geographic aspect of it. Go back down here. I see you have to click away from that. Then again, oh, sorry about that. Sorry, watchdogs. Let's look at this list of resources. We see that familiar from the demonstration before in the slides, the relics and reliquaries. And then she's also referenced in College of Mount St. Vincent publications, in the John Baptiste Mary David papers, her own papers at Seton Hall University, and onward. You can advance the screen to show other resources in the list. You can also see as many as 100 resources at a time. And again, clicking on these links here on in the title takes you directly to the finding aid at the repository. Now, this is something that SNAC does that other authority systems, name authority systems, do not do. You can't jump from an authority record to the finding aid at a repository. And then again, I'll remind everyone, these are repositories that we're dealing with a subject, a person who's from this continent. This can be really an entity with resources anywhere linked to a finding aid at a repository on another continent, really anywhere. It turns out here that this is working from archive space. This is the finding aid is clearly the product of an archive space entry. And then you go forward exploring the finding aid as you normally would. Clicking back takes us back to the list of resources for Seton. And then we can explore the next tab, the relationships. On the relationships, you see that she is associated with in some way, with which is of course not much context, but it tells you that there's a way that in some way she is related to this corporate body. As Dina demonstrated earlier in the slides, if you click on viewed shared resources, it specifically tells you which collection has both a connection between Elizabeth Seton and the college. So you could drill further in and look at the description of this particular collection. Again, anything that you see that is blue highlighted and hot linked, it will move you to a description. Oh, and this is one that routes through WorldCat, which is something you might find a lot in SNAC as a disclaimer. Note that there are corporate bodies and persons listed together on the relationships list. That's pretty common for someone who was really well connected. What you can do though with using the filters on the relationship tab is you can filter only to see her relationships with persons, other persons described in SNAC, that is. There are 2 pages of person. You can go back. Oh, sorry, not that far back. You can filter for corporate bodies, and you can filter for families, and she's not currently connected to any family descriptions in SNAC. To remove the filters, just simply click the X, and that removes it. On her places, these are the places that she's has some kind of relationship to: New York City and Emmitsburg, Maryland. Under the subjects, we have beatification, canonization, charitable societies, charities, church music, nuns, religion, saints. These are controlled vocabulary terms that in many cases result from the subject headings being scraped from finding aids and populated into her SNAC record. And I'm guessing that most of these came from the Library of Congress subject headings. Likewise, for the occupations, the controlled headings, oftentimes coming from the LC headings, she's only has the occupation here as none. Go back to relationships and just demonstrate jumping to another record. So here's the corporate body record for the Daughters of Charity of St. Vincent de Paul in the Emmitsburg province. And then again, the same things can happen from here. You just move around in SNAC based on the clicks to other entities. And here's another reroute to WorldCat. We did, during the ingest of SNAC data back in 2015, ingest the entire WorldCat identities data set, and that's why we have a lot of links out to OCLC WorldCat. We are in the ongoing process of asking our SNAC editors to please investigate those links through WorldCat, and if they can, re-link them to the finding aids at the specific repository so that we don't have so many users being routed through WorldCat. So that's the end of the SNAC tour. I'm going to share the last slide again from our presentation and say thank you to everyone, especially our hosts, Mary Grace Hassa and to Jonathan, for your support. And if we're ready to move into the Q&A session part of the afternoon, then we can go ahead and do that. But before we do, here are some important links to remember. SNACcooperative.org is where you can start your SNAC journey there. My email, Dina's email, is here. We are both at NARA.gov, and we do have upcoming training events for anyone who is interested in being a partner editor in SNAC. We are hosting, we're conducting a one-day in-person SNAC school event during the SAA conference week in Washington, D.C. Of course, we're going to do that on July 26th. And the event will take place at the Archives of American Art, which is a part of the Smithsonian. It's located in a commercial building in downtown Washington, D.C., very, very close to a metro stop. And our longtime partners at Archives of American Art will be our very gracious hosts there on that day. There will be a virtual training for Create and Edit coming up in October, split between 2 days. And in November, we're going to conduct one of our reference and research modules. We do the reference and research SNACSchool module separately. It takes a bit too much time to integrate into a 1 or a 2 day SNACSchool event, so we do that one separately. As you can tell, and there was now a discrepancy in the slide that I'll ask Dina to make a note of. Since the last time we updated the slides for this presentation, the SNACSchool training calendar has gone back to its pre-pandemic quarterly format. So we're not meeting every month any longer. We're doing it on a quarterly basis. You can follow the links through SNACcooperative.org to find information about future SNACSchool events under the SNACSchool calendar. So thank you again. Thank you, Dina. And now questions and answers.
Thank you, Jerry and Dina. It's a wonderful presentation. Really appreciate you providing this review of this wonderful tool. I don't see any questions yet in the Q&A feature here. So I just encourage our participants, if you have a question, please go ahead and submit them there. But in the meantime, I'll go ahead and ask a question. Yeah, you mentioned SNACSchool. I know some people who have attended and very much benefited from it. And I was just wondering if you could maybe provide a little bit more detail about what goes on at SNACSchool, what you might learn, and then how you might implement what you learn there.
Is it okay to share the screen again? Mm-hmm. And I'll
yeah, feel free. Mm-hmm.
Just a second. Get this. So here we are at the SNACcooperative.org. If you click on About, it moves you to a screen that's probably familiar. This is in one of our introductory slides. Everything you could possibly want to know about SNAC is right here at the portal.snaccooperative.org. Sorry. Again, but was it W.C. Fields that said never work with animals and children? And I'm working with animals and children right now. I know you did. I know. Thank you. Sorry about that. About SNAC, on SNACSchool, if you click SNACSchool, you have Snackathon toolkit, because we do with great thanks and acknowledgement to our partners at Harvard University's Houghton Library, specifically our longtime supporting partner, Betts Cope, for conducting at least one or two corporate body oriented snackathons in 2022. She kindly documented everything that went into their snackathon and developed a toolkit for us, so we can share it with others, and so you can conduct your own snackathon at your local institution. Under the SNACSchool, we're in version 4.0, and this is modules 1 through 6. There are 6 modules. Module 1 is an introduction to SNAC and the SNAC portal. So we go through all of the resources that are available on the website. Module 2 is a top to bottom coverage of archival authority control based on RDA, Resource Description and Access, which is the going standard for content for controlled names of entities. And we do a full demonstration of how you do research to develop names for persons, families, and corporate bodies. And then that's a natural segue into the create and edit module. And that's really the nuts and bolts of SNAC participation and editing and partnership, step by step. We oftentimes say, if you think you need a SNAC user manual, module 3 is really it, because it is a true click for click instruction on how to create new SNAC records. After the create and edit is done, and I will add that when you're in SNACSchool, you are asked to bring a person name example and a corporate name example with you to SNACSchool, based on most likely a finding aid from your shop or some other shop that you're familiar with. And you do a hands-on, click by click, step by step creation process or project in SNAC for both persons and for corporate bodies. And then there's an interaction between you and a designated reviewer. We have reviewers across the cooperative who are well-trained SNAC editors, and they help guide new editors along on their path to independence and creating. Module 4 is a resource cache management instruction. The resource cache inside SNAC is the giant cache of finding aids that the SNAC holds on to and provides as linking material when you're doing your create work and your editing work, by the way. Merge, that's Dina's specialty. Merging is something that helps us take care of the duplicate names that resulted from the data ingest in 2014 and 2015. In some cases, SNAC wasn't able to decipher when a name was brand new or when it was the same name that had just come before it. And sometimes, instead of saying, well, it's the same record, let me merge them together, it simply created a new record. And in some cases, it created hundreds of new records. So we designate those. We help people walk through that process of determining which names are truly duplicate names. And there's an electronic action that helps you merge them together in SNAC. And then, as I said earlier, using SNAC for reference and research, Module 6 is a separate instruction that takes place on alternative months, because that's an hour-and-a-half long presentation on how to search and then search SNAC and then understand what it is that you've found in your search. So that's what happens in SNACSchool.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it. We have another question here about just asking if you could speak to future possible use of the records and context ontology for SNAC.
Oh, that is a great question. Records in context, or RIC, R little I, big C, comes up regularly in our meetings, more specifically with the enslaved description group. The enslaved description group in SNAC is actively, line by line, looking at the RIC relationship types and trying to pull from that something that will help us expand what's now a very limited, like limited to 1 or 2 relationship types that more accurately describe relationships between enslaved persons and other entities. An example of this is that the relationship type that now exists that we instruct people to use when describing a relationship between an enslaved person and the person who enslaves them is now described as owned by and owner of, which speaks to more of a sentiment of property ownership. And the group had been looking for something more meaningful and more direct than owner. And we have decided that we will propose forward to our editorial standards working group very soon, enslaved by and enslaver of, to describe that unique relationship. But that discussion started a whole new snowballing sort of discussion about, well, the relationships between enslaved persons and other entities can be somewhat different and can be described differently and understood differently. So we are working to expand that, and we're doing it in the context of RIC, but paying attention so that if RIC has a relationship type that we can use right off the list from RIC, that we're going to use that. So what we're doing now is mindfully keeping in step or in compliance with RIC, but also seeing where we need to expand for SNAC's more specific description projects for the enslaved and also for indigenous, because it turns out, as many of us know, the slavery issue is something that is a part of the discussion about the era of slavery in this hemisphere, and of course the treatment of indigenous persons. So those we actually have a meeting coming up later in July, in about 3 weeks, where the enslaved description group and the indigenous description group will come together in a joint meeting with the editorial standards group to say, here's a new list of relationship types that we're going to use. We've looked at RIC, we've made sure that they're compliant in the format that RIC would prefer, and then we're going to move forward with something that's more specific for SNAC.
We have a question that's related back to the modules of SNACSchool. I think you could probably answer this pretty quickly. Are the modules self-directed training or only through classes?
You are welcome to have a look at any of these modules. I'll click here. What you get is a PDF of the instruction slides, and you're more than welcome to move through these at your own pace for reference. But getting your login and password requires attending SNACSchool.
Thank you.
Sure.
One participant got the impression that there was a single ingest into SNAC, and we're wondering, are additions to SNAC ongoing? And then if so, what does that look like?
So to be more clear about it, there were a number of ingests that took place in 2014 and 2015. New data added to SNAC is being done on an ad hoc basis, and it is happening. If you have EAC CPF records, that's a way to get them into the system. If you don't have authority records in EAC CPF, there are a number of approaches that are being developed, specifically using OpenRefine, because we now have an OpenRefine plugin, and a lot of our partners are using that as a way to manipulate and prepare their data to go into SNAC. Now, that said, we are currently without a lead technical developer for SNAC. That position has been vacant now for, I'm sad to say, for almost a year. But as we are in a period of transition from going from fully funded by the Mellon Foundation to a membership fee-based paradigm, which has not happened yet, I must add. That hasn't happened yet, and there are no membership fees for being a SNAC member. As we're in that transition, it means that we're not able to hire a full-time technical developer. We do have some part-time support from the University of Virginia Library computer technical support staff, but that's more of like a when we have technical difficulties, someone there can help us out with the servers. It's not a situation where they can help us with big data ingest. So those types of projects are on hold, but for the future, yes, there will be a more streamlined and routine approach to ingesting new data to SNAC.
A related question. One participant asked, is it possible to add individual records for oral history interviews to SNAC instead of a full archival collection?
Yes, certainly there is. Hold on just a second. I'm going to see, I have to make sure I have the name correct. I'll show you. Because I'm a huge fan of, when I worked at the Holocaust Museum from 1990 to 1999, I cataloged over 7,000 individual oral history testimonies for Holocaust survivors and liberators and other types. And I am happy to say that SNAC has, within the last 4 or 5 months, started a dialogue with the United States Holocaust Museum, and it excites me to do that because I used to work there, and I'm thinking, oh wow, all those oral histories that I cataloged back in the day might get into SNAC sooner than later. We have on the resources list, you notice that there are different types of resources designated in SNAC. It can be traditional archival resources, which are listed here on this section. But we also have bibliographic and digital archival resources, and under that falls oral histories. And this is the individual oral history, which moves you from Roz Abrams' SNAC record to her oral history. And you can see it in the digital archive there, which I think is phenomenal, that you can move from SNAC to the description of the oral history interview, and then you can even see the interview itself. So yes, individual oral histories can be added, and you can then you also you do the work, yes, for individuals. I'm sorry to fumble around with my words on this, though generally where we don't advocate for full-on item level description, especially with traditional archival resources. Item level description, it's if the items of a particular archival collection are available digitally, yes, certainly you can create a resource relationship link to those or all of them if you had the time and resources. Generally people don't, but we realize that for oral history testimonies, that's a different animal really. And the point of creating access through description of oral histories is to get to that specific interview. So there we go. We can indeed do that. So, and the History Makers is one of the examples we're very proud of.
We also have a question related to your place of employment, NARA. Does NARA use SNAC?
National Archives does indeed use SNAC. We have a staff of one. Mine and Dina's colleague, Kathleen Brown, is the person at the National Archives for the entire agency who is the designated person names cataloger. She is now actively adding SNAC links to the local authority records, which are in MARC format, inside the National Archives catalog system, so that when a National Archives authority record displays in the National Archives catalog, there is going to be an active link to SNAC records. That also has happened over the past 3 years on a more robust level. When the pandemic started to unfold worldwide And when federal employees were starting to be sent home to work in isolation and quarantine, and that was in March of 2020, Dina and I were asked to sort of pivot and create a way for National Archives staff to do work from their home desk. And if you're a remote worker, if you're still working in isolation, or for whatever reason, SNAC is a really, really good way of putting, the best use of your time, because it's so easily accessed. As long as you have a Wi-Fi connection and you can get on the internet, you can get to SNAC. And if you're trained and you have a SNAC account, you can create and edit data from anywhere you are that has really good, has good Wi-Fi, or any Wi-Fi. So the National Archives staff, who were all sent home, all like 1,300 of us, worked from home for the majority of the pandemic, and they started to do active work in SNAC. Person names, corporate bodies, not too much action on family names at the National Archives, but corporate bodies and persons certainly were very well-treated, a group of SNAC records specifically related to collections at the National Archives over the past 3 years.
And I'll say also, we had especially the Obama library, there was a big push because all of their material is planned to be digitally accessed. Included in NARA are the presidential libraries. And we had one staff member who was just having so much fun, one NARA staff member at Obama library who was just having so much fun adding all the records that they have, and the people in the administration. And I think he even moved on to like all of the speakers of the House of Congress, and then all of the, the leaders of House and congressional and senatorial committees. And so really, he did a tremendous amount of work during the lockdown to really put in more government entities.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, we're out of time, so we can't get to all of the remaining questions, but I'd just like to thank you, Jerry and Dina, for this great presentation. I also want to let our participants know that our next session is an archival chat, and that'll be held on Thursday, July 13th from 4 to 5:30 p.m. Eastern. And it's entitled Problems Unique to Religious Archives. And this is a panel presentation that is moderated by Taffy Hall, with panel members Russell Gassero, Aaron Louthan, Nan Cano, Sarah Waits, and Jeff Anderson. So thank you for joining us today. And thank you once again, Jerry and Dina.
Thank you all. We appreciate
the
time to talk about SNAC.